we should stand up and say, we are Americans and we have a right to debate and disagree with any administration.
During my years doing Black and White, if anything, I've tried to bring you a perspective not presented by the mainstream media. One can't always come to educated conclusions if not equipped with all the facts. That is the ultimate responsibility of the media. Remember, it's the job of reporters to tell you what happened, and that's all. If ever there was a clear example of selective reporting and bias by the media, here is the best example to date. The left is translating and selectively quoting retired Lieutenant General Ricardo Sanchez's comments during the October 12th Military Reporters and Editors Luncheon in Washington, D.C. Former top general rips Bush's Iraq policy is not exactly what happened here. Yet if you were to accept their editorializing, that's what many are going to come away with. See a pattern? So what did General Sanchez say, and what did he mean by it? Let me take a stab at it.
You know, at one point I didn't know where the enemy was, whether it was here or there. But normally I start out when I'm speaking to people by asking the question, is there any press in the room? I guess the right question here, is there anyone here that is not in the press? And I know of at least two people, but beyond that I think most of you are with the press corps. But some of you may not believe this, but I'm definitely glad to be here. When SIG asked me if I would consider addressing this group, there was absolutely no doubt in my mind that I should come into the lion's den. Okay? So I am aware of where I am, Jim. Now this was important because I have firmly believed since Desert Shield that it is necessary for the strength of our democracy that the military and the press corps maintain a strong, mutually respectful, and enabling relationship.
That's one area where we are in disagreement.
This continues to be problematic for our country, especially during times of war. Now, one of the greatest military correspondents of our time, the award that was just presented is named after him, Joe Galloway, made me an absolute believer when he joined the 24th Infantry Division during Desert Storm.
As far as Joe Galloway goes, we're all entitled to our opinions.
Now today I will attempt to do two things. First, I will give you my assessment of the military and press relationship as I see it, and I hope that you take it for what it is. It is the observation of a military commander that has had extensive press engagements, both good and bad. And then I will provide you some of my thoughts on the current state of the war effort. Now, as I stated, as you all know, I have had a wide range of relationships and experiences with our nation's military reporters and editors. There are some in your ranks who I consider to be the epitome of journalistic professionalism. Joe Galloway, Tom Shanker, SIG, and John Burns immediately come to mind. They exemplify what America should demand of our journalists: tough reporting that relies upon integrity, objectivity, and fairness, to give accurate and thorough accounts that strengthen our freedom of the press and, in turn, our great democracy.
One would think that's what one would expect from journalists. Many of us understand. Reality is another thing.
On the other hand, unfortunately, I have had to issue ultimatums to some of you for unscrupulous reporting that was solely focused on supporting your agenda and preconceived notions of what our military had done or not done. I also refused to talk to the European Stars and Stripes for the last 2 years of my command in Germany for their extreme bias and single-minded focus on Abu Ghraib.
The media did seemingly latch onto that and gleefully used a rather broad brush, bashing all soldiers, the administration, and the mission because of the actions of a few bad eggs. Let's not forget, the Abu Ghraib pictures were circulated widely around the world in print, on television, on the internet, and the enemy used those pictures as well. To this day, even the Iranian president mentions that unfortunate yet isolated incident to bash our president, the mission, and our soldiers carrying it out.
Now, let me review some of the descriptive phrases that have been used by some of you that have made my own personal interfaces with the press corps difficult. Dictatorial and somewhat dense.
In other words, you're too stupid to know we're right, you're too stubborn, and you won't listen to us. So shut up and do what we want now.
A liar.
In other words, you're too stupid to know we're right. You're too stubborn, and you won't listen to us. So shut up and do what we want now.
A torturer. Does not get it.
In other words, you're too stupid to know we're right. You're too stubborn, and you won't listen to us. So shut up and do what we want now.
In some cases, I have never even met those that use those comments. Yet they felt qualified to make character judgments that are communicated to the world. My experience is not unique, and we can find other such examples as the treatment of Secretary Brown during Katrina.
Welcome to the world of liberal arrogance. Monday morning quarterbacking is a blood sport for the American left, and many could be bothered with the brutality that is football, yet they boast the ultimate knowledge. Remember, the progressives are characterizing this speech as a bash on President Bush and leaving out all references to the media's shortcomings and downright failures.
In my opinion, this is the worst display of journalism imaginable by those of us that are bound by a strict value system of selfless service, honor, and integrity.
That's going to leave a mark.
Almost invariably, my perception is that the sensationalistic value of these assessments is what provided the edge that they sought for self-aggrandizement or to advance their individual quests for getting on the front page with their stories. As I understand it, your measure of worth is how many front-page stories you have written, and unfortunately, some within your ranks will compromise their integrity and display questionable ethics as they seek to keep America informed.
In other words, as we're talking about liberals, it's all about them. It's all about what they want the story to be. Please remember, people, journalists are just supposed to report the news. They're just supposed to tell you what happened, not analyze, and certainly and purposefully not add or omit things that will shape your impression of the events. Sanchez is merely reminding these journalists and editors how to do their jobs, and he's right on the money.
This is much like the intel analyst whose effectiveness is measured by the number of intelligence reports he provides and not by the value that it is to the commander. For some, it seems that as long as you get a front-page story, there is little or no regard for the collateral damage that will be caused. Personal reputations sometimes have no value. They report with total impunity and are rarely held accountable for unethical conduct.
I have never read a better use of verbal cluster bombs being dropped on the arrogant, unaccountable for their actions media elite. Bravo, General. Those media members in attendance were probably seething having to listen to this tongue lashing from some mere military hack that's supposed to be there to bash Bush.
Given the near instantaneous ability to report actions on the ground, the responsibility to accurately and truthfully report takes on an unprecedented importance. The speculative and often uninformed initial reporting that characterizes our media appears to be rapidly becoming the standard of the industry. An Arab proverb states, "Four things come not back: the spoken word, the spent arrow, the past, the neglected opportunity." Once reported, your assessments become conventional wisdom and nearly impossible to change.
The media constantly makes trouble by the intentional misinterpretation of events and then leaves the ramifications for others to have to deal with. In this case, we're talking about the soldiers on the ground who have to deal with the encouragement and rage of the enemy after the media's selective and misreporting of events, phony quotes of events that never happened without formal retractions, and recitations of falling support back home.